How you doing, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm taking a look at the Sideshow Collectibles Klaatu from the Scum and Villainy collection. Quick look at the box there. You can see we have an image of the figure at the front holding his staff. On the side, nothing much. And then in usual fashion of the Sideshow Scum and Villainy collection, we have an image of the figure on the left hand side, a small monologue about the character himself, and then at the bottom we have an image of the Wave 2 Scum and Villainy collection from Jabba the Hutt's sail barge, basically. So there we have it for the box, just a quick look at the box. So moving on, let's do a quick pan of the figure itself. So here we are for a quick pan of Klaatu from the Scum and Villainy collection. Now Klaatu was a male Cardassa Nikto from the homeworld of Kintan. Kintan was a planet located in the Kintan system within Hutt space, divided into three subspecies: Cardassa Nikto, Israel Nikto, and Kajansa Nikto, with Klaatu being of the Cardassa Nikto species. Klaatu was a well-known gambler that had accumulated quite a lot of debt, and he was employed by Jabba the Hutt as a skiff repairman and a bodyguard in Return of the Jedi. Klaatu does attempt to take on Luke when Luke eventually gets on board of the sail barge, but he's quickly disarmed and retreats back into the barge, into the interior, and inevitably perishes when the barge explodes. So that's pretty much it for Klaatu. Not a whole heap about him, but that is the crux of the character of Klaatu and his appearance in Return of the Jedi. So moving on, let's have a look at his accessories. So here we are for all of the accessories that come with Klaatu. Not a whole heap in usual Sideshow fashion. We only have 4 hands here. We have 2 relaxed palms and 2 gripping hands. Not bad, not poorly done. Quite a lot of scaliness to the fingers and the hands. Quite well molded. There's quite a lot of texture to them, and the black nails, and thankfully, finally, Sideshow have decided to start using a slightly softer plastic for actually getting the weapons into the figure's hands. I don't need to heat the hands up or put them in water like I've had to do with previous Scum and Villainy figures. It's just a case of just bending them out to get the weapons into his hands. So kudos for Sideshow to finally address that situation and use a softer material for the hands. As for his weapon, I'm not really sure what this weapon is called. I've never seen it before. It's kind of like a vibro axe without the bladed part on it, to be honest. But anybody who knows the movie knows that Klaatu doesn't brandish this weapon in the movie. He takes on Luke Skywalker on the sail barge with a blaster in his hand, and Luke Skywalker, I think, cuts the blaster, and then Klaatu retreats back into the interior. So I'm not really sure where this staff comes from, or where this weapon comes from. And most figurines that are made of Klaatu, whether it be Kenner or whatever scale, they do put this axe or this staff in the box. They don't really give him a blaster, and they should, because in the movie he goes at Luke Skywalker with a blaster. But it is what it is. It's very odd. It doesn't have a blade on it. It's a very odd piece. It's a very odd weapon. And you see this section here is a separate piece. A little bit of weathering running through, a little bit of dry brushing, but again, not really too much detail, and I don't have much information on it because I've never seen it before. Then we have his helmet, and this to me is a shocker, to be honest. I thought his helmet would have been part of the mold, but it's actually a separate piece, as you can see, made of a soft plastic, no padding on the inside, but made of a soft plastic. Not bad detail to it either. We'll go through the details when it's on the figure. Nice little bit of paintwork to it and a hammered effect to it. And this strap is separate and magnetic, and you just have to kind of attach the strap on with magnets. A little bit finicky, a little bit of futs, and when you're trying to get it on the figure and try and get the magnets to attach. And then we have this kind of faux suede piece at the back. So there we have it for his accessories, not much. So moving on, let's take a look at the base that he comes with. And in usual Sideshow Collectibles fashion, nothing much to say. Usual Sideshow base, hexagonal shape, nothing written on the top of it, but Star Wars written on the bottom of it. Sideshow need to do something about the bases. The prices we're paying for these Sideshow figures now, over $300 out the door. Sideshow, sort out your bases. Let's start seeing something a bit more exciting than these hexagonal shaped terrible bases. So here we are for Klaatu, standing pretty much straight up as he comes out of the box. Doesn't look like much without his helmet on, to be honest, but starting off in my usual fashion, we'll have a look at his boots. Split boot, as you can see, to allow for articulation, although there isn't a whole heap of articulation. You don't get a whole lot of range out of the articulation, even though it is a split boot. They could have made it one whole boot, it wouldn't have made any difference because there is a serious lack of articulation. Not a bad mould on the top piece there, quite a lot of a rippling effect to it to make it look like sagging leather. Bit of highlights to it as well, bit of dry brushing over the high points, and you can see there is a bit of detail of stitching running through it on the brown peach, the patches that are sewn onto this grey piece at the front with some weathering at the front, and more stitching on this patch here, and more rippling or folded material look to it. It's okay. The paint is a little bit flat, to be honest, and there should be a little bit more sand effect to it, given, you know, that we're on Tatooine, and a molded grip on the base of them. As for his jumpsuit, from what I can see in the movie, it's not made of a polyester. It looks like a cotton in the movie, but this is made of a really cheap polyester. Not impressed with the material they've used at all. It's to the touch, it's very cheap feeling. Doesn't feel very nice to the touch. And another thing as well, on the prototype images, and even on the screen used costume, if I can, I'm going to put up an image of the screen used costume now. There's a lot more pleats in the front of it. They've really skimped out on the pleating on the front there. And if I can just reach over and grab the front of the box there, and we'll have a look at what I mean. That's upside down. There we go. On the prototype, there's quite a lot of pleating running down the front of the outfit, which is screen accurate. This is all screen accurate here, with the amount of pleats running down the front of it. However, on the final figure, it's just really lacking in the pleating effect. Not the end of the world, but it is something worth noting that on the prototype that they used, they did put way more detail in the pleating on the front, and it just looks a little bit bland. The finished product does. The mass-produced product does, and it looks very different to the screen used costume. And even on the weathering as well, on the prototype, there's a lot more weathering. There's a little bit lacking on the weathering. Although Sideshow aren't known for putting in the weathering, it's nice that they've at least put in a little bit, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. As I said before, we are on Tatooine, and he is a skiff repairman, and he would be working away on skiffs and should be a little bit more grubbier. The belt is movie accurate with all of this twisted effect to it, and you know, it's just all attached by being twisted, and there is a real metal chain running through it. And then on the back we have this cloth material. Again, very thin, very cheap. It's detailed really well. Now you can see all the stitching effect, kind of this diamond shaped stitching effect running through it, and it looks woven together, and the colours running through it are really nice looking as well. The different shades, how it changes into the lighter shades and the darker shades, and it really does look nice. It just, and there's a few pleats at the front there. If I can move his hand out of the way, there's a few pleats at the front here as well. It just feels cheap. Now, it's not a pleather, it's not going to fall apart. You can see how it's all kind of stitched there, how all the stitching runs through it. It's not going to fall apart, it's not pleather. Unfortunately, the belt part of it at the top is pleather, which could potentially fall apart over time. The same with the belt here. Fingers crossed it doesn't, but it is again worth noting. And his sleeves are made of what is made to look like a linen material, and it's done quite well. I'm quite impressed with the sleeves. They do look like a linen, and it bunches up really nicely as well, and it's all kept in place really nice. Those bunched up sections in the elbow and the cuff of it, they are done quite well. It's not bad at all, and it covers up the wrist joints really nice, even if you bend the elbows. And on this arm here we have this, is that pleather? Is it soft plastic? No, it's a pleather, I think, with a little bit of studs running through it there, and a little bit of airbrushing to give it that worn effect to it. No complaints really about it, to be honest. It looks nice. The shoulder pads, again, I'm not entirely impressed with. They're quite cheap feeling. They're not pleather, are they? I think they might be a pleather, but it's, do you know what it is? It's like a faux suede again. A little bit stiff, but they are kind of made to look like a faux suede. I can't see them deteriorating because it is like a faux suede, but it feels like a pleather backing on it. But it's not going to deteriorate. It's not bad. It's okay, but again, just cheap to the touch. You know, like most of the outfit he's wearing. My real concern really is the back of the belt there, or the top of the belt, and these straps that go around the back of them, whether they're going to hold up or not over time. You know, it's just a guessing game really. This piece here, this neck piece here that goes over his head, it's a really soft plastic. Thank God it's not a pleather. It's a really soft plastic. Quite well detailed with the studs in it, and a little bit of airbrushing around the edges of it to make it look a bit worn. And there is some subtle creasing in it as well, like a kind of like a leather grain. Not as creased as the prototype, but again, it does the job and it looks the part. Overall, it's okay. I'm not blown away by it. My biggest gripe is the material they've used on some of the parts, especially this jumpsuit material. It's just, to the touch, it's a really cheap polyester. I would have liked something a bit better. And like I said, the pleats are really lacking. There should be way more pleats running through it, as you've seen from the box there and the screenshot, that there should be far more pleats running through it. So a little bit disappointing. And even running down the leg, the top of the leg there should be more pleating running down it. But it is what it is. For the price of these figures though, they should be putting a bit more detail in them and going that extra mile. And he doesn't look like much without the helmet on. Actually, let's get a close-up on this head sculpt and see what we have and what we're dealing with. So here we are for Klaatu's head sculpt up close. And as per usual with Sideshow, they don't do a bad job with their aliens. It does look like Klaatu did in the movie, with a slight exception. This piece here, this face piece at the front, it's just, you know, a separate section that is glued on to the front. And from what I can tell from the screen used mask, it's not that pronounced, that seam line. It's more subtle, it's more flush to his face, and it doesn't look like a separate section in the screen used mask. But it's not egregious, it's not a deal breaker, especially when he has the helmet on, as we'll see now in a few minutes. And you can kind of even see where it comes up over his lip, and even there is a nice little bit of detail in the sense that they have put in, I hope it's picking up on camera or not, but there is some teeth in there. Very subtly done, but there, you can just about see some teeth in there, which is a nice little bit of detail to put some teeth in there that you're not really, you're essentially not going to see them unless you have them, you know. I don't really know what position you'd have to have him in to be able to see those teeth, but a nice little bit of detail in this plate that's put on. All the symmetrical spikes that run around the side of his face, screen accurate. Nice little bit of depth to everything. It's got the scaliness to it. and the tips of all the spikes have this kind of yellowish hint off them, almost amphibious look to them, which it's on point. It looks well. It's just the join line isn't great, and it's not a smooth sculpt. It's very textured. It has all these lumps running through it, and this kind of a scaliness, and it has this raised lumpy part that goes right down the top of the head, now right around to the back, and he has more of these pronounced lumps on the top of his head, which look the part. If I can get a bit more light on it there, which do look the part. My main gripe would be the fact that this pace just isn't as flush as it should be. But like I said, not the end of the world. And without the helmet on, this is not how we see Klaatu in the movie at all. We never see him without the helmet on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop the helmet on his head. Now the thing about the helmet is there's no foam on the inside. So if you were to be taking the helmet off and on regularly, it would end up taking off some paint. But you can see the helmet does just pop on, and the strap does work magnetically, which hopefully I can get this to cooperate. I'm going to have to grab my tweezers and try and get this to attach. It's not the easiest thing in the world to attach. It is a little bit finicky. Hopefully I can get it in, and there we go. So there we have a complete Klaatu. That's the Klaatu that we know from the movie. As I went through earlier on, the helmet's quite well detailed. It does have this hammered effect to it, which is in the mold, which is, you know, these dimples that look really well. It looks good. And the molded in kind of pieces of rope that are in it, they look okay. They're acceptable. And this metal piece all running down the center of it, it's a little bit silver, a little bit. It could look a bit more metal. The paint isn't exceptional, but it's acceptable. It's not a bad helmet. It is all plastic. And then, of course, we have this cloth material running down the back of it as well, which, you know, it's not the highest quality. But does it have to be? I don't think so. I think it does the job. And it is made to look like a faux suede in a sense. So that's pretty much it for the Sideshow Collectibles Klaatu. Not a whole heap to go through. Not a heap of accessories. A little bit disappointed, as I said, in some of the details of pleating. But apart from that, it does look the part, and it is a nice addition to have. I have all of the Scum and Villainy collection figures, and I will be getting all of them. And what I'll be doing is I'll be kind of building a little Jabba's palace around my Jabba the Hutt, my Sideshow Jabba the Hutt. And as for the body, there's a fat suit under there. Is there a fat suit under there? Yes. It feels like there's a very thin fat suit under there, just to bulk him out a little bit, which helps with the rigidity of the body. This leg's a little bit loose, but the other leg is quite tight. Now, I reckon without that fat suit on, it would be a lot looser. Not the worst Sideshow body I've ever had in my hands. That Bib Fortuna body was terrible. And now that body was a specifically made body for Bib Fortuna, and they didn't do a great job with it. But this body here is okay. It's not egregiously bad. It isn't that same body that they've been using, that they keep using with the scars on the neck. It is a different body again. So yeah, not underwhelmed by the quality of the body. I think Sideshow are getting slightly better with the bodies. There is a bit of an ab crunch in the body as well, as you can see. So he does articulate in all the right places, and it's not a really loose ab crunch either. It's, you know, it's quite tight. It'll hold its position. So, like I said, there we are for the Klaatu from the Scum and Villainy collection by Sideshow Collectibles. So I'll just leave it with a couple of images there. Not the most dynamic figure in the world. I will be adding this figure to my Sideshow Collectibles Scum and Villainy collection playlist. If you want to check it out, I'll leave a link at the top of the description. It has all of the Sideshow Collectible figures reviews to date. So thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Take care. Thanks.